League of Legends, Fortnite, Counter-Strike, Hearthstone, Battlegrounds. Do you know what all these games have in common? If your answer was yes, well, then you win the grand prize of absolutely nothing. But if your answer was no, and you are confused why I named off 4 games in completely different genres, well, that is because each of these wildly popular games has its roots in modding. League of Legends is the world's most popular MOBA, and arguably the most popular game in the world considering the huge player base it has in the East. And not only that, it has been a monolith in gaming for years since it came out in 2009. So you're probably wondering, how did the idea of League of Legends come to be? Well, back in 2003, a Warcraft 3 mod known as Defense of the Ancients would take the RTS genre and simplify it a bit by making you only control one hero instead of having to control the whole army like you do in an RTS. This would eventually go on to spawn an entire genre of games named the MOBA genre, and today some of those biggest MOBAs that remain are League of Legends and Dota 2. However, there are still a lot of others kicking around, like Heroes of the Storm or even Smite, and there's also a whole ton of mobile titles too. For many years during the 2010s, tons of companies were throwing their resources at MOBAs in hopes to hit it big like League of Legends did. And while many, failed and died, RIP, none of this was possible without that original Warcraft 3 mod, Defense of the Ancients. Next we have Fortnite, every kid's favorite flossing simulator, which has a very similar story. From Minecraft Hunger Games to the Battle Royale mod for DayZ, which is actually a mod for Arma 2, so the rabbit hole's getting pretty deep around here. Eventually down the road, Epic would be working on a PvP building horde game known as Fortnite Save the World. But that isn't the Fortnite that went on to be massively popular. Epic actually saw a very unique opportunity to jump early on the Battle Royale trend and took their existing game and reworked it a little bit to turn it into a Battle Royale, and the rest is history. Fortnite would go on to blow up and be absolutely massive. Without mods like Hunger Games for Minecraft and the more direct DayZ Battle Royale mod back in 2013, the entire genre of Battle Royales as you know it, and Fortnite itself might not even exist today. It might have just died as Save the World. From cartoon versions of Ariana Grande doing the floss, to players hitting that defuse at the last second, Counter-Strike is a much more obvious story, as the original Counter-Strike was literally just a mod for Half-Life 1, and was so wildly popular that Valve turned it into its own game, eventually leading to multiple sequels with Source and Counter-Strike Go, and the upcoming Counter-Strike 2, which is actually poised to dominate the gaming market this year if they ever, actually release it. Now, one tapping your enemies as you wrap around corners might not be your thing. Maybe you prefer to sit back, chill, play on your phone or on your PC, and kind of let your units do the work for you. Well, Hearthstone Battlegrounds, one of my favorite time wasters on mobile, is also another game that wouldn't exist without the existence of mods. In January of 2019, a Dota 2 mod, spawned from the Warcraft 3 mod, yes, we're wrapping all the way back up, would get a mod of its own known as Auto Chess. And this would end up getting massive hype as tons of streamers and YouTubers would check out the mod, and the mod itself is effectively an auto battler where you level up your army in between rounds using golden items, and then they go and fight other people's armies and you try to be the last one remaining. The mod itself would go on to be so massively popular that for a while more people were streaming auto chess in the Dota category on Twitch than Dota itself, and it even saw 8 million players play the mod by May of 2019. Not too bad for a mod for a game. This would spur on many other developers and Valve themselves to want a bit of that auto battler cash, and we would see multiple major studios take a stab at it. Blizzard would add the Battlegrounds mode we mentioned earlier to Hearthstone in November of 2019, Riot would release Teamfight Tactics in June of 2019, and Valve themselves would create Dota Underlords, which went into early access in June of 2019. Sadly though, out of these 3, probably the main 3 that have persisted, the Dota version is actually probably the least successful, surprisingly enough, as it would struggle to maintain the initial hype and now only regularly sees about 2,000 concurrent players a day, which is a far cry from the 200,000 peak that it hit on launch. Now you might be wondering what happened to the actual Dota Auto Chess mod. Well, that still exists today, but the developers behind the initial mod would also create their own standalone auto chess game simply titled Auto Chess. And this would release on Android in April of 2019, iOS in May, and then the Epic Game Store in June. Eventually it would also come to PS4 and Steam, though the game never really got any momentum, especially on Steam. And it's probably the least successful out of all the auto battler standalone titles, peaking at a grand total of wait for it, 441 players on Steam. These days it does still see about 400 concurrent players a day, so the numbers haven't dropped off very far, but at least on Steam alone we can say the game obviously wasn't very successful. Now the game is also on mobile and obviously the Epic Game Store, and I'm sure the studio got a bag from Epic, but it is still sad to see the original creators Drodo Studio kinda lose the battle in the genre they literally created. But due to disagreements with Valve, they were never able to directly foster that relationship and make the game directly under Valve with the Dota IP, which would have been Dota Underlords. With that said, the gaming market is actually brutal for this. They take your idea, iterate on it, and basically push you out of the genre while raking in all the success. We see this time and time again in gaming. I mean, this was literally Blizzard's entire shtick as a studio until, recently when they just started to suck altogether. So that is 4 different massively popular games and genres, all directly linking back to modding, and this is only the tipping point. Many other games and subgenres also have their roots back to modding, as modding has allowed different gaming communities to really hone in on certain aspects of games they love, or maybe change parts of games that they don't enjoy as much. Sometimes even creating things that change the game so much, they become their own thing altogether, like some of the examples we talked about earlier. These days, mod tools in games though are very hit or miss, sadly. While some AAA games do still support modding, many others have taken drastic measures to stomp out different communities around their games. On the good side, you have a scenario like GTA Roleplay, where the studio behind one of the biggest roleplay servers was actually brought in-house to Rockstar. Though it is worth noting that Rockstar themselves went to war against modders for a while at the start of GTA 5, so I think this one basically just happened due to how massive GTA Roleplay and 5M became, and not really because Rockstar had a change of heart toward modding. On the complete opposite side, you have companies like good old Activision sending out cease and desist to communities behind different modded Call of Duty clients like IW4X that allowed players to play games like Modern Warfare 2 and Ghost safely on PC, with various improvements and additional content thrown on top. In many games, mods seem to only be able to do so much, until they fly too close to the sun, and eventually are smited down by the publishers, which was a scenario we saw happen in many cases.
Here we go!
Shoutouts Nintendo for basically shutting down every mod ever. One close and dear to my heart was the El Dorito mod back in 2019, which was able to take a cancelled Halo free-to-play title known as Halo Online and turn it into pseudo Halo 3 on PC, and this was before Halo 3 was on PC with the Master Chief Collection. Unfortunately, after dropping a big update and starting to get a lot of buzz and attention around the internet, Microsoft would, peek out of their hole and notice that something good was actually happening in Halo, and demand that it be shut down. However, you could argue that it paved the way for us to get the Master Chief Collection on PC, or maybe they were already working on it at this point and didn't want competition, and the collection would bring the whole suite of Halo FPS titles to PC outside of Halo 5, which is very cool for longtime Halo fans. As time went on, we would even see 343 add dev-supported mod tools to the different games in the Master Chief Collection, which have gone on to spawn some really cool mods that you may have seen, like the Star Wars Battlefront mod by Abyss Quick and Stevie Roth that brings a bunch of different Battlefront maps into the Halo 3 engine, along with weapon overalls, tons of Star Wars themed vehicles, and a whole bunch of goodies. If you haven't played this one, you need to. Pause the video, download Halo 3 in this mod, and go play it. Or at the very least, go check it out on YouTube. It is very cool. Mint Blitz has done a ton of videos on it recently. They even got Jeff Steitzer to voice some of the announcer lines in the mod to give it that really authentic flair. So just go check it out there. It is a super cool mod. Even before the Master Chief Collection though, Halo would see some massive mods that you may have seen. Campaign overhauls like the SPV3 project and Cursed Halo would take 2 very different approaches to overhauling Halo CE. SPV3 was sort of a super sandbox, adding tons of different things into the Halo CE sandbox with new weapons, vehicles, enemies, and additional and reworked levels. And then Cursed Halo is more of an extremely cursed adventure, tasking the player to play through Halo CE with all sorts of nightmarish and funny weapons, vehicles, and enemies, even sporting a whole section in the recent update that makes you drive around Mario Kart tracks as part of the campaign. This mod is an absolute blast, and it's even playable today in the Master Chief Collection, solo or co-op, and I think it might even have the multiplayer maps thrown in, though someone can fact check me on that. It's definitely worth a playthrough if you haven't played it. That said, the mod tools are really cool, and while I only highlighted a couple different mods for this specific game, there are many more worth checking out just in Halo, and you could easily make the case that these mods are helping keep the Master Chief Collection alive on PC today. Other massive games like Minecraft wouldn't be nearly as popular today without modding allowing users to create their own experiences and servers. And Bethesda as a company probably wouldn't be as big as we know them today without trying to sell us beautiful horse armor. Jokes aside about Bethesda's weird mod marketplace, which, had some mixed reception, modding has been a huge part of the Elder Scrolls and Fallout franchises for many years, propelling Skyrim to release about 1,000 times. Once for each time Todd Howard could sense a new customer in the wilderness. There's also no doubt that games like Starfield that just came out will embrace modding, and there are so many more games that modding has played a huge part in. We obviously mentioned Half-Life with Counter-Strike, but besides Counter-Strike, Half-Life had a ton of other big mods, and so did other Valve games like Left 4 Dead that have entire communities around modding for those games that are still active today. Then there's things like the original Doom games that have entire modding scenes, and so many more that if I tried to touch every game with influential modding, well, this video would just never end. But user creation tools don't stop at modding. These days, while not every game is mod friendly, especially the live service multiplayer ones, some games have built-in map or game creation tools that players can use, and the leader here is easily Fortnite with its new and upgraded uefn suite. uefn, if you haven't heard of it, it's basically a mega upgraded version of the previous creative mode that was previously in Fortnite. Now, the new uefn mode would drop in March of 2023, and this tool is a PC application that allows players to create maps or entire experiences directly in Fortnite. And in the short time since it's dropped, we have already seen massive waves being made by uefn. Entire studios have been created, and I'm not talking about a couple friends who call themselves a studio on Twitter. We're talking actual game studios paying people legitimate salaries, and these have popped up with the sole purpose to create experiences using uefn, which is very reminiscent to Roblox. While some uefn projects have received pretty massive hype, I think it's only a matter of time until we see one of the next huge genres or games in general come straight out of uefn. Tons of players are playing these created modes, and some of the biggest Fortnite content creators now cover creations on a regular basis, and it's basically become their own little ecosystem. And I probably shouldn't say little, it's massive. Another very cool thing that Epic actually did here is that uefn allows creators of these different modes to be able to make money off their projects based on the amount of engagement they receive, which is actually amazing for those creators. And it's why we can see actual gaming studios based around the uefn, similar to that of Roblox, where creators can also make money off their creations in that game. Allowing players and groups of creators to utilize their tools and make a profit off of it basically ensures that new things will constantly be coming out Fortnite for the foreseeable future. I obviously briefly mentioned Roblox earlier, but similar to uefn, which has basically turned Fortnite into a moldable game engine for its creators, Roblox does the same thing, allowing users to create their own games and experiences in Roblox. And there is a reason that Roblox Corp is literally worth over $17 billion today. Yes, you heard me right. And some of the games that we have seen come out of Roblox are actually insane. I mean, heck, they've even created Halo in Roblox, and if it's got Halo, it's obviously good. While Roblox and uefn are definitely the biggest and most powerful in terms of user creation tools directly in games, as they basically flirt with being game engines themselves, many other games have included more scaled back modes that still allow users to create really cool things or create their own in-game maps. Going back a few years, Doom 2016 had a mode called Snap Map, allowing players to create their own single player or multiplayer levels. Splitgate had a basic map creator. Far Cry had a map creation tool for years before cutting multiplayer altogether in the recent title. Even Fall Guys recently added a map creator. One though that I obviously interact with though on a more regular basis is Forge in Halo, which has come a very long way since its inception all the way back in 2007. Originally included as a way that players can kind of just adjust weapon spawns, maybe throw some boxes on a map, or block a door, the tool would continue to evolve into what we see today, where it's almost as powerful as the in-house mapping tool that 343 uses, even supporting things like scripting for the creators who hop into it. While Halo Infinite itself hasn't had the best track record, you can still see the cool effects that the Forge tool has on the game, as tons of cool new maps and creations are constantly being created, and even in some cases added into matchmaking themselves. Both modding and user creation tools have so many benefits, and in reality, more games should include them, not only because it increases the longevity and popularity of your game itself, but it's also a low barrier of entry way for younger or inexperienced people who want to get into game development, as many game devs got their roots either modding their favorite game or creating levels using in-game creation tools like Forge. While some big games are supporting user creation tools and modding these days, more still need to. And with many live service games, it's easily one of the weakest aspects, restricting us only to the things that publishers can make money off of. Over the next few years, we will truly see the effects that something like UEFN has on the whole industry. And I fully believe it is going to influence more and more AAA studios to include similar style creation tools into their games, but only time will tell. What do you think? And that, guys, is gonna do it for the video. But as always, I want to give a huge shout out to all the supporters on Patreon. If you guys want to support the channel, you can hop on over to Patreon and check out all the cool perks and benefits that you can get, like your name at the end of the video, which is pretty dang fancy. Other than that, I appreciate everyone watching the video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you all next time.